Hi, today we talk about asylum or refugees policy in the U.S. I think some of those most scared people in terms of first 100 days administration will be those refugees or asylum seekers. Of course, all those illegal immigrants who were arrested for such a good number just for the beginning weeks. Um, we all know that U.S. has ratified the UN Refugee Convention Protocol in 1956, so that U.S. won't send back asylum seekers. But we know that there are actually many asylum seekers in the U.S. And then most of them in every stage. There are over thousands or even over 10,000 of refugee seekers who are still waiting for an interview. If there's no interview, they should have the right to stay. The U.S. has signed the protocol so that they won't send refugee seekers back to their home countries because they fled from their own countries because of war or persecution. But we know that over the few past years, many people come to seek asylum in the U.S., but actually there, there, there are not enough resources given to give those seekers an interview. So many are still waiting. But without an interview, you should not send them back. So how Trump and his administration solved this problem? We saw that in the first days, Trump's already closed the border, already shut down the access of the illegal immigrants. Of course, many would come into the U.S. to seek refugees or asylum status. So what will Trump do since he has already shut down access to all those asylum, refugees, and other status programs, fleeing from their own countries? And Trump even want to put a wider travel ban on certain countries. And we have also seen that Trump has already suspended the asylum status from some countries, for example, Haiti and Venezuela. Now we haven't seen that he has done anything to send back the Hong Kong asylum seekers or to do anything to for example, he hasn't canceled the DD status for the Hong Kong people in Biden's administration. He still allowed this DD program to be continued. He hasn't revoked this agreement, this status given to the Hong Kong people. But we are not sure what Trump will do in future, since he has put such a lot of effort and on cutting down the illegal immigrants or cutting down the asylum seekers. So maybe will you cancel the DD status for the Hong Kong people when it comes to renew in 2 years' time? When I am in Hong Kong, I also have seen many refugee seekers. Most of them seems come from Africa or South America, something like that. So we at that time I already wondered why there are so many asylum seekers in Hong Kong, and then they are not yet they are not yet refugees. Okay, they haven't gain this refugee status, or they are not yet approved as a true asylum yet. They are still seekers only. So now will Trump send back those seekers in the U.S. who are waiting for interview? We don't know that. So some Hong Kong people who have the DD status, they always discuss in their group, asking the can we go back to Hong Kong just for a visit of our family? Because DD has the right to apply for a permit or something like that to go back to Hong Kong, and then when they come back to the US, they still have this DD status. But of course, to be more cautious, especially when the Trump administration started to cut down the access of asylum, to block the access of refugee seekers. Even the DD status is still there, but should you take such a risk to leave the U.S. and then come back, hoping that they still observe your DD right to come back to the U.S. We have heard some news, should be true news, I think, because have their name, have their location, and then everything in great detail about some even already U.S. citizen or holding green card already. They are still detained and ready to deport. Finally, whether they are deported already, we are not sure. But we have heard about some news about that kind of immigrants, not yet U.S. citizens, but they have already asylum seeker status, or they already accepted into the U.S. as refugees under all those international treaties and programs in the past. But there are still that kind of news that they are detained and ready to deport. And then also there is a news about some refugee seekers. They already got the, I think, maybe license or permit or anything to accept that they can enter the U.S. as refugees. Okay, and then they already have bought the airplane, and then when the flight stopped in the U.S., just some minutes past, Trump has passed the bill. He has signed the order already that that kind of refugee from those countries no longer will be accepted to the U.S. So just some minutes after Trump has just signed the order, so those people boarding the plane, they have to go back. They cannot come down from the plane, and then they have to be sent back by the same plane. So you can see that there are many changes, there are many uncertainties. And then during the deportation for the past 3 months, those who are still waiting for interview to confirm their status as refugees, of course they might be deported because you have no status yet. You have no citizenship, you have no green card, you are even not yet approved as an asylum yet. You are only seeking, you have only applied to seek an asylum status for yourself. So we still have to wait and see. And then it seems that it's a good news that Trump has not yet started to send back all those already in the U.S., or those already apply for asylum status, those who are still waiting for interview, because there's such a great number. And then those people are legally they legally enter the U.S., right? And then they apply asylum in the U.S. In the U.S. land, and then they are waiting. Okay, so according to the UN Convention Protocol, then the countries who signed it should not send those people back. They should at least give them an interview to rectify, to confirm that whether they are really asylum seekers. Okay, and those people, some of them already have been in the U.S. for a few years or even over 10 years. They're still waiting because such a great number, such a long queue, especially in the past administration. There is really no progress. And then now Trump focused on the deportation, not on the not to speed up those interviews. So maybe now just waiting, okay? The asylum seekers are waiting. The administration is waiting to see what they need to do to such a great number of asylum seekers in the queue. And so they haven't done anything to them yet. That is already a good news, I think. Of course, in the future, there is uncertainties. We are not sure what Trump will do to them. And then, of course, every day there's a new order. Every day Trump signed a new executive order. Will we sign tomorrow that all those waiting go back first, because we don't have time and money and resources to interview all of you. Maybe you go back first. Just like what he said, he tried to use money to encourage the refugee seekers, and especially those illegal. You go back first because you come in illegally. If we find you, you can no longer enter the U.S. If we deport you, better you go back yourself and then you try to apply again. Will he do the same thing to those asylum seekers, that you go back first? Okay, you go back first, and then you still have chance to come in. But we know that all those asylum seekers, why they seek asylum in the U.S. land, because they have fled from their own countries. For the fear, for certain kind of fear, maybe fear of persecution, fear of war, fear of anything. So they are not in safe status. That's why they seek asylum status. This is a international treaty which the United States have signed. But now we can see how Trump carry out his policies in his new second-term administration. We see that he did all things in a very quick speed, and then in a very comprehensive way. Okay, if the Dutch find any waste, or find any corruption, or find any department which is not in proper use, or any resources not in proper use, just cut it, just clear it, or just force the employees to leave their job, to leave from the work. Okay, so actually we can expect that Trump and his administration can do anything under his Make America Great Again policy. And then, of course, if we find there are so many people waiting for asylum seeking, will use a great lot of resources from the U.S. Of course, they can withdraw from this protocol, or they can withdraw from actually from joining any UN program, something like that. I do believe that he can do that. He has the guts to do that. So he also has the reason to do that. Okay. So under the policy of Make American Great Again, there should be any waste. Just to use the U.S. money on certain things which has no benefit to the U.S., but only because of the global duties that some administration in the past has signed. Okay, not signed by Trump. So Trump, of course, he can say that I don't agree that I don't want to be bounded by that kind of agreement. The U.S. should withdraw so that you won't take away U.S. resources. But actually, among those legally present asylum seekers, actually I do believe that most of them actually have already start a job here, start investment here. Of course, they need housing, and then they of course they have contributed their talents in many different sectors, professional sectors in the countries. And then of course they pay tax. Even you just go for a meal in the restaurant, you have already paid tax. Even you rent a house, you use their utilities, you have already paid tax. So that group of people actually have benefit to the U.S. I think why Trump hasn't started to cut these people or to send back these people or to withdraw from this treaty, because those people, of course, not in as a great number as those illegal immigrants from the border. Okay, because every day, wow, so many people can come through the border, and then they don't need to apply a visa yet. They just come in, okay, and then the past administration hasn't stopped them, and then now he has stopped them from entering. Actually, already cut down. They said that already cut down over 90% of immigrants from the border. Okay, so that kind of asylum seekers who are lawfully present in the U.S. and waiting for interview. I do believe that they actually, even though many are waiting, but actually still a small number when compared to the over 90% of cut down of illegal immigrants. And then they have already start paying tax, start investment, start their contribution here. That's why it is a lot of hurry. But how to deal with the kind of problems that so many people lying, waiting, and you still have to increase some resources so that you can go through all those cases. Otherwise, all those will be queuing for an interview, and then of course it will be accumulative, and then of course gradually there will be such a great number, and either you send them back with the interview, either you quickly finish the interview session, or either you just allow all those seekers, maybe over 3 years, over 5 years, exempted from the interview, directly can get asylum, assembly status, okay, and they're waiting for green card and then something like that. So of course, to those asylum seekers, refugee seekers, there are bad news every day, or actions who take away their benefits. Just within this 100 days, many people lost their dream, lost their hope to enter the U.S., or those already in the U.S., they still have to be deported because they in the past they can have access to the U.S. directly, but now the access is closed. And of course, this land belongs to U.S., belongs to U.S. people, belongs to the U.S. government. So they can make their own policy. Okay, of course they have the right not to sign any international treaty. They have the right not to be bound by any international treaty. They can withdraw from their duties. So then if the refugee rights are nullified, then we cannot say anything against them. They have the right. Okay. Only that they announced that, oh, from tomorrow, we withdraw from the UN Refugee Convention Protocol, okay, so we can do anything to the asylum seeker. We can just send them back, because now we are no longer bound by the convention, by the Refugee Convention Protocol, okay, which some presidents, U.S. president in the past has signed and ratified. Okay, and so when we say that oh no, it is an international treaty, it is an international convention, It is an international protocol, and then you have already signed and ratified, and then you should observe the way. But of course, up to the leader, up to the government, up to the country themselves to decide what they want to do, right? So we cannot expect that they must observe this convention protocol. We cannot expect that they must observe the refugees' rights, asylum's rights, and the global duties. Of course, whether you shoulder the duties or not, also your own decision. For example, some people in the family, of course, as a member of family, you should shoulder some responsibilities, right? But whether you shoulder or not, it's still up to you, right? If you don't mind, oh, you can blame me, you can scold me, but I just don't want to share the burden. I have no, I don't have the strength to shoulder the problem. I just leave the problem to others, okay? Don't bother me, okay? Who can do anything against you? It is not illegal, okay? It's not unlawful, right? You just don't want to shoulder this problem, international problem anymore, okay? Of course, American as one of the biggest country, wealthy country, modernized country in the world, of course, we do expect them to shoulder the responsibility for all those poor countries, poor people who suffer from war, from persecution. But when the countries themselves are all right with themselves, and then when there's country policy is to be a international hero, okay, to shoulder all problems of other weak countries. I am the biggest country. I am so strong. I can shoulder all the problems of other weak countries. I want to be regarded as an international leading country. Of course, I will just to shoulder up all the burden. But now no, okay, under the MAGA policy, international obligation, global duties, convention, UN or UN convention, anything. The rights of people of other countries who has no contribution, especially no contribution to the U.S. Of course, the U.S. Don't need to bear any responsibility. He can just do anything that he finds suitable to their own country under their MAGA policy. So we must wait and see how Trump will do in future. So in those Hong Kong people group, people will be advised that oh, don't think that you have a DED and that you can do anything. Don't think that Trump has not nullified the DED status, and then you can do anything. I don't think that Trump hasn't sent back the asylum years, and then you can just travel around freely, and then don't think that you have right to apply for some document, and then you have the right to travel, and then you can come back. It is not because the rights to travel under your status actually is given by the U.S. government, right? They can take back anytime. This is not your own country. You must be very alert that this is not your own country. You flee from your own country because of the fear of persecution. But here it's not your own country. They can help you, they can accept you, they can allow you to stay for some time, so that hoping that in some years your country will be better, or some other country will accept you, or something like that. Yeah, but you cannot take for granted that this is your country. They must accept you. Oh, you have signed the protocol. You have signed the UN Convention Refugee protocol. So you must follow. And then I have already come in. I have already applied for something. You cannot send me back. You must give me an interview. I think that is not must. Okay, of course we hope this is a must, but we cannot force people here. We are only the guest. We are not the owner. We cannot force the owner to do anything for the guest, right? And just by claiming that you have the duties, I just don't want to fulfill my duties. So what can you say about me? That what can you force me to do, right? When I'm in Hong Kong, I have also when I was younger, Hong Kong is burdened by the Vietnam refugees for so many years. Since I was a young girl up to maybe 20 years, at least 20 years old later, over 20 to 30 years, so burdened heavily by the Vietnam refugee problem, because we're just a small place. We cannot accommodate those Vietnam refugees, and Hong Kong is not their destination. They want to go to America, but they must wait. Okay, so they must wait for Americans' vetting process to determine whether they they should be allowed to enter the U.S., whether they are accepted to the U.S. So many of them wait in Hong Kong for so many years, and I know that many are waiting for more than 10 years, 20 years, and then they still cannot receive a yes from the U.S. And then finally, they some of them maybe have been accepted by other country, or some of them are allowed to stay in Hong Kong. I'm not sure, but I know that they have waited for so many times, causing a great financial problem, security problem to Hong Kong. And then after many years struggling and arguing, and then finally the problem was solved. But I still see many asylum seekers in Hong Kong walking on the road. I know that of course they are a lot residents, and then they cannot work. They just can only walk on the roads of the city, of the town, but they cannot work. They cannot maybe even leave Hong Kong. I'm not sure until they are accepted by some countries. The asylums and refugee seekers here in the U.S. should be very alert. Should of course expect for the best but prepare for the worst, and also should not take for granted, and then also should not blame anyone. Actually, when you can enter the U.S. and then stay here for already some time, if the final outcome has come that you have to go back, then what can we do? Okay, of course I don't want this thing to happen, because of course there's a reason for those people to flee from their countries, and then of course there's a reason that when they go back, sure there won't be any safe situation for them. So we pray for God's mercy. We can only ask for people's mercy here, or people's understanding here, or people's support. Okay, you can deport those illegal because they don't follow the U.S. Law to come in legally, but those already be present here, actually they really need the U.S. mercy to allow them to stay until they really can get a safe country or place to stay. Or if they can contribute to the U.S., they won't do any bad thing to the U.S. Of course, I really hope that the U.S. Administration can accept them, can do them a favor. May God bless every refugee, every asylum seeker.